Bonjour, Mishko Pakanan Quain Adishnakas Mungdodam. Hello again, it's Sandy Boucher here once again. I'm Red Thunderbolt Woman of the Loon Clan, a proud member of Seine River First Nation in Northern Ontario, and once again we are talking about the non-Indigenous path to reconciliation. Last week we looked at step 1, the baby stage, where you were required to accept the past without excuse, to develop a desire to reconcile, and an ability to forgive Indigenous people who are not yet ready to move forward. It's totally understandable once you understand our history. But this week we're looking at step 2, which remember is another learning stage. This is not action stage yet. You still have some learning to do. And just like on the Indigenous path, this is going to involve you unpacking your suitcase, looking at all those things you were taught about Indigenous people. Now, do you realize that many Indigenous people pay taxes? Do you realize that many Indigenous people do not work in the communities? Do you realize many Indigenous people look more like me than our darker family members? Did you realize there's more than 600 separate and distinct First Nation communities in Canada? You have to unpack those things that you were taught. Now, using your adult mind, you can keep the things that will help you move forward and discard the rest. Take the lesson, leave the rest, as my mom would say. And the second half of stage 2 is a further examination of history and realizing that colonization actually benefited the settlers, which is why it happened. For every benefit that the settlers enjoyed, there was a corresponding oppression. And we've talked a lot about the oppression side, but we need to look at the benefits. For example, the fact that we're doing this video in English is an example of one of the benefits. When the settlers came here, whether they spoke French or English, they brought their language with them. Their meetings, their colonies were set up using that language, and it was Indigenous people that were forced to learn the new languages. Sure, they found a term here or a phrase there to help them work with Indigenous nations nearby, but primarily they brought their language. They brought their justice systems. They brought their governance systems. They brought their idea of what constitutes medicine. And on it goes. If you look at modern day Canada, you can see what colonization did. It almost erased the Indigenous systems and beliefs that are very strong even today. And it put such incredible limitations on Indigenous people that we ended up with modern day Canada. So once again, step 2 for non-Indigenous people on the path to reconciliation, I should say, you have to unpack that suitcase. You have to look at what you were taught about Indigenous people. Don't judge the people that taught you. They didn't have the chance to unpack, but you have that option now. And you have to understand the benefits that non-Indigenous people have enjoyed from day one and the corresponding oppression that was heaped upon Indigenous people. Next week, we'll look at step 3 on the non-Indigenous path, and that's the action stage. So you're definitely going to want to watch that. And if you want more information, you need to pick up the path. Until next week, take care. Bye-bye.